This is a production of Florida State University.
Hello and welcome to this November edition of FSU Headlines. I'm your host, Mark Vaughn. We're glad you could join us. To say this year has been different would be an understatement, right? Well, Florida State University has been hard at work doing its best to make sure students continue to receive a top 20 public education as the COVID-19 pandemic changes things all over the world. FSU President John Thrasher is leading those efforts, and he spoke with the FSU family about this fall and what spring will look like.
Hello, I'm FSU President John Thrasher. We're more than halfway through the fall semester, and now I just want to thank our students, our faculty, and our staff for your flexibility, your resilience, and your dedication to Florida State University. Because of you, we've been named one of the top 20 public universities in the nation for the second consecutive year. And despite the challenges of COVID-19, our students, our faculty are still achieving national awards, our researchers are attracting major funding for their innovative work, and our student athletes are competing in their sports. We've learned a lot this fall about how to promote and maintain safer and healthier campus environments. And we are very pleased that our cases of COVID-19 continue to trend downward. I'm also happy to say that Jean and I are feeling good after our bout with the virus. As we look toward the spring, we will offer more face-to-face classes and more opportunities for our students to engage in experiences outside the classroom. Florida State University is known for its beautiful campus and friendly atmosphere. And I know we're all looking forward to having the opportunity to spend more time together this spring, enjoying everything FSU has to offer. In the meantime, let's all continue to do our part and stay healthy, FSU. Thank you, and go Noles.
And as President Thrasher mentioned, campus, while different, is still busy with students, faculty, and staff. There's classes underway, the greens are active, student life still going on, and Provost Sally McCrory is busy working with faculty and staff to increase that safely for the spring semester as well. Here's the Provost.
We've followed our repopulation plan. We've followed the CDC guidelines for social distancing and wearing of masks and so on, lots of sanitizing, and we have no examples of any kind of spread happening in a classroom or a studio or a laboratory here. And that's important to me. So we will continue to follow the CDC guidelines for spring, along with every other institution in the state university system in Florida.
As we've mentioned, campus life does look a little different at Florida State University, but students are finding new ways to connect. Reporter Grace Ricadio recently caught up with some students on Landis Green to learn how they're making the most of their college experience in these challenging times.
Have you been able to stay involved on campus, whether it's in person or in Zoom?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I have an in-person class, and that's just great. I get to talk to my teachers and, talk to my peers, and that's just a really great experience. I'm very grateful that I have an in-person class.
It's going pretty good for me. I know a lot of the students in my department, so we're able to communicate a good bit and help each other out that way. Certainly, I'm very happy for all the opportunities still to be on campus. I think that that's a great thing, being able to do that still.
Most definitely. I mean, I think everything changes on a daily basis, so we've been really good at being flexible, but just again, it's been really important to remind everyone that they have to wear their face mask and social distance. We're not going to be able to continue what we have if we don't take what we've been given and run with it. So it's really important just to continue remembering that stuff changes on a daily basis, but continue keeping yourself healthy.
Find out more at news.fsu.edu or on our social media at Florida State. I'm Grace Ricadio, and as always, go Noles.
Grace Ricadio comes from Florida State University's online news show, Nole Talk News. You can find new episodes on the university's Facebook and Twitter. Well, many of us are taking daily precautions to protect our health, including washing our hands and wearing a face covering. These habits are also important during flu season. Take a look at how Florida State University is helping students fight the flu on campus.
This year, more than ever, it's extremely important to get the flu vaccine in the context of the COVID pandemic. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has recommended that in part of protection from COVID, getting the flu shot will ensure that if you were to get the flu and COVID together, that you would hopefully have a less severe course. They understand how important it is as an FSU community that we pull together to stop the flu. So it's super easy. On average, it only takes anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, and then you're done. Students need to bring their FSU ID. They need to bring a face covering. If students are feeling ill, so any sort of respiratory, flu-like symptoms, we do ask that you wait until you are feeling well. If you are currently infected with COVID or you're on isolation or quarantine, we also ask that you wait until you are cleared from that in order to get a flu shot, and that's per the CDC guidelines. All of our events are located on our website, which is uhs.fsu.edu. We have events every single week all throughout the month of October. We just really hope that everyone comes out and gets vaccinated and takes advantage of this free flu shot to help us all stay healthy and safe.
A new scholarship at FSU Panama City gives students opportunities to succeed in college. It's called the FSU PC Promise Scholarship, and it bears the name of the promise that FSU Panama City gives to each of its students. Take a look.
It's a great time to be a student, a faculty member, a staff member here at Florida State University. Right here in Panama City, we have a campus of a top 20 public research university. You know, here we talk a lot about the FSU PC Promise. And today we're going to add a fifth component to the FSU PC Promise. Today we're making our commitment to student success even more meaningful and more powerful. It's important that students be able to focus on their academics and not worry about the financial burden of going to college to get their undergraduate degree. We're saying focus on your academics and worry less about your finances. I'm pleased to announce the establishment of the FSU Promise Scholarship. This scholarship will provide free tuition and fees from students from Northwest Florida whose combined student and family income is $50,000 or less, or who are Pell eligible.
To learn more about how you can apply, call the admissions office at FSU PC or email them at admissions@pc.fsu.edu. Well, a postdoctoral student explores a promising new therapy for stroke victims. We'll show you how this research could revolutionize treatment for the disease when FSU Headlines continues in a moment.
At Florida State University, we're proving that students from all walks of life can achieve at the highest levels. We're proving that intellect, creativity, service, and daring matter. We're proving the next generation can do more than dream of a better world. They can make it happen. We are Florida State University.
When you buy a Florida State University license plate,
you're not just showing your school spirit.
You're supporting students like us.
In the lab,
in the classroom,
and in the library.
Putting this tag on your vehicle helps Florida State students achieve their dreams. So show your pride. Purchase an FSU license plate today.
Welcome back to Florida State Headlines. I'm Mark Vaughn. It seems as if it doesn't take long for girls to see a future in computer science. But according to new Florida State University research, it depends largely on how good their teachers are at recognizing their skills. This new study focused on the experiences of 3 middle school girls in a local coding camp. The results showed that nuanced interactions between teachers and campers impacted how girls viewed themselves as coders.
The way in which educators recognize girls in these programs has an impact on how they see themselves as coders. So, and that recognition is affected by the educator's own biases, like whether they know it or not. So this is a concept in science education, this idea of who is deemed a good student, and the gendered way in which girls are deemed good students is when they are quietly taking notes and, you know, answering the question and they're right. But that sense of tinkering and curiosity and approaching a question, boys tend to be encouraged in those ways. So those same implicit biases related to gender come in even to summer camps, even in an all-girl setting.
The study has inspired Professor Hughes to think about how we can design more inclusive, STEM-focused spaces for girls in the future.
We shouldn't just rely on the formal K-12 schooling to build the STEM identity. Schools and communities and families, we all need to work together to really strengthen youth's concept of like their self-confidence in their academics, in whatever their identities may be.
Florida State's Mag Lab offers science-based summer camps for girls as well as co-ed camps. For more information, visit nationalmaglab.org/education. A Florida State University postdoctoral student has just received over $112,000 from the National Institutes of Health to explore new possibilities in stroke treatment. The research is focused on HMSC, one of the most commonly tested stem cells. She's using powerful MRI technology to better understand the therapy's effects in the brains of stroke survivors.
I focus mostly on sodium. There's like a huge sodium spike, influx that happens during a stroke, and that's measurable with MRI. And you can also look at metabolites with spectroscopy that's measurable. So it's a really interesting method because you can inject these therapies into a model of stroke and then watch them as they progress through the treatment, which is kind of the huge advantage with MRI.
A Florida State University art history professor is joining a new historical team of scholars to preserve art and culture with the U.S. Army. This group of cultural heritage scholars and soldiers will carry on the legacy of the Monuments Men, a team that protected European art from looting and destruction during World War II.
So, you know, I've learned about it during master's, but through the training, we're learning a little bit more about the history of not only, you know, what people have seen in the Monuments Men movie during World War II, but to learn about all the different objects, monuments that were preserved over the years, you can't help but feel a sense of pride, right? So it was starting in World War II. You then hear about the groups that went to Iraq, and now we're continuing the legacy. It's really surreal. It's surreal, and it's really hard to put into words. I never thought that I would, that my art history career and my military career would dovetail. Never. I never thought of that.
Dixon says there are lessons learned from past conflicts when valuable and irreplaceable cultural property has been lost to the destruction of war. But Dixon also says this mission is much more than just protecting individual objects. It's about protecting people and entire cultures.
We are learning about how to effectively, preserve cultural heritage during conflict, learning about rule of law, and hopefully even more techniques. We're looking at case studies of, the past from World War II to even what happened in Iraq. And the program really started after the U.S. military was looking back on what happened during our engagement with the global war on terror, and seeing where the challenges lie when it came to cultural heritage preservation and analyzing what we can do now.
Coming up on FSU Headlines, we'll head out to the field to catch up with the Marching Chiefs. That story and more when we come back. Welcome back to Florida State Headlines. I'm your host, Mark Vaughn. The Florida State University Marching Chiefs have been keeping spirits high through many unusual challenges this fall. But the Chiefs have remained determined to keep their traditions and music alive. Reporter Abigail Watford has that story.
The Marching Chiefs are what make a Seminole football game feel like home. Sarah Feingold, a senior chief, knew she wanted to pursue her dream of performing in the band from the moment she first arrived on campus.
How do I get to be a marching chief? It's what exposes you to Florida State University when you're in a high school band program. And it's such an influential organization, and your dream is just to be on this field with 400 other people.
While this year is unique because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Chiefs will be performing in the stands, and there will be special health precautions to keep all the students, faculty, and fans safe.
We have to wear our masks, and then we also have to have a mask that we have a slit in that we play through. And when we're not playing, we have this other mask over it.
Even though things might be different, the Chiefs are determined to not miss a beat.
My favorite part about being a marching chief is being the war chant. You never really realize that you are the war chant.
FSU students have the opportunity to sign up for Chiefs the first week prior to school, and everyone who auditioned had to be prepared for a season like no other.
This is such a different experience, and no one else has experienced a year like this. No one else will get to be a 2020 marching chief.
Precautions have been put in place, and head band director and former FSU marching chief David Plack continues to keep spirits high.
I've been here through the highs, and I've been here through some lows. But the thing that has stayed constant is our support of the team.
With passion and enthusiasm, Plack's support is as unwavering as the enthusiasm of FSU head football coach Mike Norvell, who made a stop in to see the Marching Chiefs practice before the first game of the season.
It makes me proud to look up at these students who are wearing masks and doing all these different things, but then you never know, because their spirit is unconquered, and they just keep going the course.
This year has seen many challenges for everyone, but the Chiefs are starting on a high note. Through all the preparation and hardship, one thing has kept lead drum major Jordan Fraze confident that he has found his home on and off the field.
The fact that we're all still together and we're all still playing the war chant, the fight song, the tunes that all the Seminole fans love, that's what makes Marching Chiefs.
The Marching Chiefs have overcome many obstacles, but are thrilled to be the backbone and the sound of the Florida State Seminoles.
Marching Chiefs are a family, first thing first. We are here to support one another. We're here to make music together, and we're here to just be a family and have camaraderie and support Seminole football.
I'm Abigail Watford reporting.
For some, big dreams never end up leaving small towns. But that's not the case for one FSU cheerleader. Reporter Grant Gibbs has more.
Blountstown is a very small town. There's only 3 schools. We have 3 traffic lights. All the food is on one street. Everybody knows everybody here.
Born and raised only an hour west of Tallahassee, Michael Engram never worried about a shortage of community.
I would say Blountstown's like one big family. Like whether you want that person to be a part of your family or not, they're gonna be a part of your family because like Blountstown sticks together. That's one thing that we're true to.
However, like any close family, the small town had its problems.
Growing up in this part of town, like you didn't typically see people make it out. And they fell victim to the streets. They were on drugs. They were a part of gang violence. Like that was a typical thing.
From a very young age, Michael always wanted something different for himself, but the close-knit community made it difficult to do so.
I would definitely say Blountstown restrained me from being me. Growing up, I was different. I wasn't your typical boy. I knew like I didn't do like the typical things.
Michael was bullied throughout his childhood for liking sports such as gymnastics and cheerleading instead of traditionally more masculine sports like football or basketball.
The pressure of Blountstown and the pressure of, you know, a guy does this, I was like pushed into, you need to play this or you need to do this.
He had issues with his identity because part of him, I think, wanted to be one way, Another part of him wanted to be another way, and it was just conflicting.
In middle school, like, I think that's when it hit me the hardest, was my granddad came down. He came in my room and he just asked me, he was like, why aren't you outside playing with other boys? And I just told him, like, I couldn't. That's when he told me, he was like, no matter what, you have to be your own self. You have to be your own person. You can't allow people to define who you are. And from that moment on, I made a vow to myself that I was gonna be myself. I wasn't gonna allow anybody to deter me from who I wanted to be.
Secure with his newfound mentality, Michael grew the courage to go with his friend to her cheerleading practice. And there, Michael found his home.
It was like I found my space. It was like I found my safe space in the world where I could truly be myself. And I think that's when it really connected to like what my granddad was saying, like to be who I wanted to be. Because like once I entered cheerleading, like nothing else mattered.
It wasn't long until Michael's personality outgrew the small town, so he set his sights somewhere bigger, and he was gonna use cheerleading to get there.
We would go to local competitions in Tallahassee, and I never thought about college. I'd never looked into college because I was typically just trying to get through high school.
He saw the cheerleaders, and he was like, Mama, that's gonna be me. And I was like, cool. I mean, okay.
And then to add on to that, it was Stacy Sutton. So I just listened to the way she talked about the program and the way she talked about her athletes and how much she just cared for them. After that day, I was determined. I was like, I'm gonna be a Florida State cheerleader. I'm gonna be under the direction of Stacy Sutton. I'm going to make it.
And almost 8 years later, Michael made it.
I definitely have a great relationship with Cal. He's a motivated individual. You know, clearly he sets goals and knows how to achieve them, and I think that that does sometimes take a special person.
So no matter what nobody says, Michael will succeed.
No matter what, I can't allow my hardships, I can't allow what people said about me, I can't allow what anybody tried to define me as. Like, now, like, I'm that person. Like, I'm able to look back at all of that and say, like, I made it, like, I'm here.
Throughout Michael's entire life, the main driving force has always been the same, his passion.
When I first found out I was pregnant with Michael, I kept telling myself, I finally have somebody that's gonna love me. My baby loves me, and I love him. That's my baby. I am very proud of him. I really think that he can accomplish anything he sets his mind to.
If you keep your head up and you trust in yourself and like you have faith in yourself that you can do anything that you put your mind to, like anything is possible.
In Tallahassee, Florida, I'm Grant Gibbs.
Florida State Seminole football's director of creative media is just in his first season with the team, but he's already leaving his mark. Kendall Kushner has that story.
It's no secret, Florida State fans love to keep up with football through social media. And without the team's creative media staff, this fan-to-player connection wouldn't be possible. In 2020, Kyle Pulick joined head coach Mike Norvell's staff for his first season as Florida State football's director of creative media.
So I met Kyle when he came in for his interview. We picked him up from the airport along with Clayton. And I mean, right off the bat, you could just tell that Kyle was really organized. He was definitely on top of it. His experience being at different programs of different levels was something that I think really caught our eye, that has helped us in our growth here.
Kyle offers the Noles media team a well-rounded football skill set. Beginning with his involvement in the sport at Trinity College, he actually found his passion for the sport in coaching, which ultimately led him to the media roles he excels at today.
After I was at Union College as the outside linebackers coach, I went to Harvard to be offensive quality control. And as I got there, they told me that I should start learning graphics to send to recruits.
Being pushed out of his comfort zone into the world of graphics was a learning experience for Kyle. Growing up a math person, the work gave him the opportunity to channel his passion for the sport into a more creative outlet.
It was a good challenge for me to develop those skills, and I really enjoy the learning process, so that kind of hooked me. And once you start diving into graphics, you start in your photography world and you start in videography, and you have the ability to kind of shift between them, but there's so much to learn.
Kyle oversees pretty much our entire media team here at Florida State football, organizes our interns, as well as communicates with me and Adam on how we can effectively meet the expectations of our coaches, fans, and boosters.
Joining forces this season amidst the pandemic, the staff managed to face these challenges with a great attitude.
COVID really forced us to either work together or fail, and I think we really accepted that challenge and really did a great job with it.
I like to have fun, but at the end of the day, we'll stay here as long as it takes to get something done and make sure it's the best thing in the country. We all mesh really well, and it's just a great group to be a part of.
We approach everything with a can-do attitude, and we just get things done. And I think that's what ultimately makes us so successful, and that's what drives innovation.
The commitment that we all have to one goal is something that you don't get outside of sports. It's not just a day job, it's a Sunday job, it's a 7 o'clock at night job. There's 2 a.m. nights that you're just grinding through with, and it is what it is, and that's part of the fun that we have is we're all united on this goal, and we all expect a lot out of each other.
All working together towards the common goal of producing amazing content for Florida State, FSU's media staff is ready to team up and tackle any challenge. I'm Kendall Kushner reporting.
Football season is coming to a close soon, but you can still keep up with all things Seminole football on Twitter and Instagram at FSU Football. Well, that's going to do it for this November edition of FSU Headlines, but remember, you can always keep up with Florida State University online at news.fsu.edu. For everyone here at Florida State University, I'm Mark Vaughn. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.